Okay, thanks everyone for joining the, what month is it? July edition of the Golang Tools Call. We have a very short agenda today, so it'll probably be a quick one, but let's get started. So the first topic is start recording, done. Second topic is meta discussion. There's nothing there to discuss today. I think, we've settled on a pattern of every couple months. Next one probably in September. We can discuss that at the end. Great. Next topic, IDE editor tools. I can give a brief update of what we're working on in the IDE land. And then we can talk about anything anyone else wants to talk about. So for the last several tools calls, we've mentioned some of the scalability work that we've been doing. And we mostly landed that in June with GoPlease v0.12.0, which changed GoPlease essentially to use export data and indexes to avoid holding state in memory. And so the goal of that release was to significantly reduce GoPlease's memory footprint, particularly on large modules, while maintaining sort of parity with its current latency and performance characteristics. I think we achieved mostly, for the most part, the larger goal. We see a large reduction in memory footprint in like Kubernetes and some of the other larger repositories that we test with. I think the latter goal, we achieved most of our latency goals, but we paid a penalty in terms of total CPU usage that we're trying to reduce right now. So some of the analysis GoPlease does to track state and make sure that it doesn't have to hold too much in memory and avoid invalidating things is expensive, and so total CPU went anywhere from like 50% to 100% on typical repositories. And so in some cases that doesn't matter, and people are happy to have the memory reduction, but we're still working on smoothing out those kinks. It's sort of we're very aware that like the previous execution model of GoPlease had sort of 4 years to mature, and this one is going to require some time as well. So we're working on that. But we're excited to start working on new things as well. And as far as our next priority, we're going to be focusing on sort of the new user experience with VS Code and GoPlease and the Go command combined, like sort of the collective experience of starting to develop Go code. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for improvement there. And from GoPlease perspective, in terms of less rigidity about like which folder you open and what your configuration is, and in terms of better error messages. From VS Code perspective, VS Code can make it easier to install things and keep dependencies up to date. It can reduce the number of dependencies that are required. It can have better tutorials. And from the Go command, I think we can sort of have like ongoing work on sort of refining workspaces and documentation and error messages. So that's kind of an overall focus for the tool chain, the stack, the editing stack. And then also, I think we want to spend some time working on refactoring. I think there's some low-hanging fruit there. So that's a not so brief summary of where we're at. Does anyone else have anything to add or any questions about any of that? Dan.
So I continue to use master with Go master as well. So far, so good. I only found one crash a couple of months back, but I haven't really found anything else. One minor thing that I did find, and I'm wondering if it's something I'm doing or if it's something that could be improved, is one of the projects that I open from time to time, it depends on one of those SQLite libraries that has SQLite itself in C as a single massive C file. So building that in Go takes a while because it's not parallelized. Which is fine. But then if I happen to upgrade Go in between the times that I open GoPlease in this project, it then rebuilds all of the dependencies for whatever reason. Even I'm not even sure if it should be rebuilding that often, but in any case, when it does that, then GoPlease sort of takes, I think building that CGO library takes maybe 15, 20 seconds. So within that time frame, GoPlease is not really responding to anything useful. That's fair enough. But if I try to shut my editor sooner than that, I think the editor gets confused because it tries to quit GoPlease or shut it in some way, but it doesn't really get a response until the compilation finishes. So my editor actually ends up saying, oh, the language server didn't respond, I just quit without waiting for it to exit. And I'm thinking that's probably not right.
Which editor is this? Is this
It's
native Neovim?
it's Helix. It's the same one
Helix,
that
no.
found it's the same one that found the crash a couple of months back. It's
What
it's
is
native
Helix?
LSP support, so
What is Helix? This is not one I've heard of.
it's somewhat new. I'll send a link.
You did mention it before. Yeah, that is, so in general, I don't know, actually, I don't know offhand why that would be the case. We shouldn't be waiting for the load to finish before we exit, but I will take a look to see, maybe we do. But yeah, the compilation itself is happening from our Go list invocation, and Brian or Michael can perhaps comment on whether that is strictly necessary. We did find some low-hanging fruit in Go list, which Michael addressed in the most recent release. So Go list actually got a lot faster for Go Please recently. I don't know, but we haven't been looking at Seago much. Seago is always sort of third on our priority list. There's a number of usability problems related to working with Seago that are hard problems to fix and relatively rare, and so they never sort of get the attention they perhaps deserve. But I don't know. Yeah, Brian or Michael, do you have any idea of what could be going on there from the Go command perspective?
Are you listing like export data for the standard library?
Nope, we don't.
Just source.
We don't pass export.
There's not any building. It's just enumerating metadata for all the packages.
I think you do have
FYI,
Seago.
I think the case that I'm talking about is actually rebuilding the package. Like it burns my CPU for a solid 20 seconds. That is building SQLite in C, right? So I don't think it's like a Go list bug per se. I think it's more like Go Please calls Go list, recompiles the package, and then somehow when my editor tries to shut Go Please before it finishes, something is not being canceled properly. That would be my guess.
So Go Please is not using the mode of Go list that would cause it to run the compiler to generate export data. So it's not actually building anything. It's just Go Please running the front end of its own compiler front end effectively on everything and writing a disk-based index. And so that's the expensive thing whenever you change either a low-level dependency or the version of Go you're using or the Go Please executable itself. So I wouldn't think it's actually building in the sort of compiler sense. It's just analyzing.
If you're listing the Seago generated files, like Seago might be running the C compiler to generate its like the metadata that it needs to generate the Go wrapper.
Does it still do that? Running the Go GCC in a special mode that generates idiosyncratic errors that it can analyze?
I think so. I'm not sure.
All I can say is that in those 20 seconds and my laptop is on fire, it's GCC using the CPU.
I see.
So that's why I concluded that it must have been building, but I don't know what it actually means to do.
So that could be Seago generating the Go declarations but one of the steps is to run the C compiler for the preprocessor.
Dan, is this open source?
Yeah, I can share more details later. I just wanted to bring it up in case, like, if this is expected in any way or not. It seems like not.
I think it is expected.
Expected and unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe?
I say expected, unfortunately. I think it's one of those situations where we do a lot of work for maybe a little gain. But I don't know that it's easy for us to do anything else. But if you do file an issue with details of reproducing it, I can definitely look into the shutdown problem, because we should always be able to shut down. So that's certainly a bug. Okay, thanks for raising that. Moving on, does anyone else have anything to add to the IDE/editor/tools section?
I can give a very brief update on sort of analysis and refactoring. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try and write something up, sort of like a very light roadmap of things that we plan to do in the next future months. And they are to publish a new API for the Go Analysis internal checker, which is currently an internal package, and it's that's the one that loads a whole program from Go packages source code, and then applies your analyzers over those things, and then prints the results and exits. And so that's the basis of GoVet right now. And many users have wanted to sort of get just the logical analysis machinery out of that and use it as a function in their own program. And so we're going to provide an API for that. We're also going to provide a new API for testing that works for modules as well, and also allows you to sort of degrade more gracefully than currently is possible if you want to do what the current test framework doesn't make easy. And then we have basically 4 kind of questions I think we want to answer, which are, these are sort of research questions about sort of possible products. One is, can we do something that's analogous to func test in your test files, where you say, in this project, these are my tests. We would like to be able to say, in this project, these are my static analyses, and either apply those to your own code so you can define your working discipline in your Go packages, and something will magically do that in your process. Or if you use this package, these are the analyzers that should be applied to your code. So you can imagine the printf checker would be actually expressed in the printf package alongside it. And if you use printf, you get printf checking if you're using the right tools. So these are sort of 2 different sides of the same coin of sort of putting analyzers alongside the code that either the code that either it applies to the internals of, or it applies to the API of. So that's one. Another is some kind of annotations mechanism for static analyses that would allow people to write in their own code when they want to enable certain analyses or when they want to shut them up. And ideally, they do it using Go declarations so that the thing is accessible to like type checking and refactoring and renaming and so on, and navigation. Another is some kind of investigation of whether it's possible to sort of separate analyzers entirely from the program that runs them. So GoPlease, there are many reasons why you might want to actually pull the analyzers out of GoPlease and have them as a separate binary that it communicates with over some kind of pipe, so that you could supply a different set of analyzers that's tailored to your needs in your project and your company, whatever it is, and the same GoPlease binary would be able to talk to that thing. So that's another question. And the fourth is there a way we can turn analyses like the lost cancel one, which does some kind of control flow analysis and make sure that if you do X, you have to do Y as well on every path? Can we generalize that in a way that allows people to write their own checkers, like you have to close after open or unlock after lock, that sort of thing, and so that people can do that without having to think about control flow graphs. So those are the 4 things for roadmap for analysis. And then finally, for refactoring, the biggest gap in our refactoring tools right now is just inlining. It's sort of the most obvious of all refactorings, really. We have extract, but we don't have inline. Inline turns out to be surprisingly tricky to do correctly. Brian's written down a lot of the details in an open issue. But for example, you have to do at least some minimal amount of escape analysis, because otherwise when you inline, you've lost a copy of a variable, and that can change the behavior of your program. And so it's delicate. And so I'd like to try and write a sound inliner. So that's it from me.
Thanks. Dan?
Does Russ's RF fit into this at all, or is it like previous generation, previous thinking?
That's a good question. I should actually add that to this. RF, there's been some interest in the runtime team using RF recently to solve real problems, and I think it'd be good to try and assess how easy is it for people outside the runtime team and the sort of the Go team itself to use this tool. It's quite sophisticated, I think, and so I think trying to come up with a decision on whether this should be something we spend more effort on and make it better documented and better tested and more useful, or whether it's just too difficult. I don't have a good answer yet.
In particular, Russ at one point made sort of a side comment that part of what he was thinking about when working on RF was the portion of the original Go modules proposal about inlining to help deal with migration across major versions. So sort of the V2. So it does seem potentially related.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I have to say that Daniel, that I was waiting to ask exactly kind of Daniel's question, because I've seen RF like there in the distance as a kind of nice fruit that I'd like to have, but it works on essentially none of the projects that I've ever wanted to run it on, because of some deep-rooted implementation issues. And I really want that kind of scripted refactoring, so I can put it in, so you can like put it in a commit message and have it checked by CI, so that people can have confidence that, you see this 10,000 lines of changes, and you're like, I'm not going to review those because I actually know that that statically corresponds to this change specified by the script, and that's actually being checked by CI. That kind of thing, I find that super helpful. And there's loads of capabilities it has, which I mean, I have to say I haven't looked at the refactoring offered by the editor tooling because I kind of can't use it. But yeah, I'd love to see RF move forward.
Is the problem you've encountered mainly around sort of the test package messing things up?
Yeah, it's usually around external versus internal test packages. Basically, the model it uses internally just doesn't, it assumes that you can kind of reuse the results for a given package, regardless of whether it's in the test context or not. But that's essentially often not true because test files can add new types, new variables, new methods and stuff to existing packages. I mean, there's that proposal as well, which will never happen, but to make the whole model a bit more sane. Yeah, there is a proposal to ban. Well, there is a proposal to ban that. But,
to ban what?
So the whole notion of being able to having test files that are inside the package, or this kind of mixed test files and non-test files, so that you have test files that are in the package that add methods that are then used by the external test files, and then you can have this kind of cyclic dependency through another packet, some third-party package, back to your own thing. So the whole, you basically can't pre-compile because of that thing, or you have this whole multiplicative kind of effect on the whole type system, which is just why so annoying.
We've hit this with it's often a major source of as you said, multiplication of the workload for GoPlease.
We had one user who was having trouble with performance, and we investigated, and they had 250 different test variants of a certain package.
Exactly, that kind of thing. So I mean, I suspect that can never be actually fixed because it's so deeply rooted into the way people write tests and do with Go. But at any rate, something like RF needs to be written to cope with that. Even if it makes it 1,000, even if it's 100 times slower, it'd still be really useful for as far as I'm concerned.
The other two issues I think for refactoring are, one is the need to run over all possible variants and do the union of sort of edits. So for example, you need Darwin and Linux and CPUs and so on. And the other is comment support. All our refactoring tools really suffer from the fact that we don't have a reliable way to sort of keep comments in the right place when we move things around. And there's been various external attempts like DST to sort of serve this, and we've been thinking about trying to squeeze it into GoAST.
I have something to say with respect to that, but Dan, did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, hands up. Sorry.
It's different topic, so please finish if you want.
I was just going to say that the idea of RF is really appealing, and Ellen also mentioned some other type of DSL for certain types of analyses, and where they break down is, or I mean, certainly it's possible that we might end up in that world, but we inevitably run into sort of leaky abstractions where the tool doesn't quite work the way you want it to because the APIs on which it's built drop comments or whatever. And so it seems like the first problem we need to solve is what are the primitive operations that one uses to perform refactorings, and can we make them bulletproof? And then once we have that, then maybe we can think about how we can express them more concisely. But we still haven't solved the first problem, which is actually parameterizing refactorings in the right way.
Yeah, it's really hard in the presence of build constraints, right? I mean, maybe it's impossible. Maybe often, like, what I find is that I don't need something necessarily that works in all possible circumstances, just as long as it works in a sufficiently large, because I can pick and choose my circumstances, right? So there are always going to be awkward cases that it might not. I think with like build constraints in particular, you can have something which some particular set of build tags, the code doesn't make sense, right? It won't compile. So what do you do in that circumstance? But you can probably do something decent.
Yeah, I think asking the user to specify the sort of the ones they care about, and then doing union across all of those, or intersection across all of those, something like that would probably get us a long way.
Yeah.
Daniel, you have your hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to step back a bit for a second. The main reason I was asking about RF is not because I have an immediate need as much as Rogers, but also because I've seen people go through the cycle of, oh, go font -R, and then, oh, look, there's RF, but wait, is it abandoned? And then, there's like rumors of go, please go doing something in the same vein. So it's not clear like how where the breadcrumbs lead. So if I'm not saying that RF needs to be like properly archived or anything like that, but if there could be a little bit of I can't speak English. If you could clarify a little bit, what is the thinking in terms of like, what are the next steps? That would be useful, I think, for people.
Yes, we need a roadmap. We don't have it though. It's not like we're just not sharing it.
I have that bit in my head, and I will write this down.
We don't have it
Yes.
formally. Cool. Thank you. Should we move on then? Yeah, sounds good. So the next section is Command Go. And again, there's nothing existing in the agenda, but if anyone has anything to discuss, please feel free to jump in.
I just wanted to point out there are a couple of proposals in the pipeline for the Go command. Michael has a proposal for vendoring in workspace mode. Michael, am I missing other proposals that I should be mentioning here? I think that's the main one on my mind.
Yeah, rendering in workspace mode. I have a CL that is very close to being ready, but the proposal is still going under proposal review, so we're going to wait for that, obviously. If you have any feedback, though, it's where's the number? It is. It is number 60056. There's a hand.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
Oh, again, different topic. So if you finished.
Oh. I guess, yeah, that's it, right, Brian? Nothing else. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Then I guess we can move on to Dan.
Yeah, for Command Go, I'm going to resurrect an old CL again. It's this one. It's about documenting dotless paths as being quote unquote reserved for the standard library. I keep thinking that this is already documented, and it's been a couple of years, so I would love for us to just merge it, because it has auto submit but no +2, so it's in kind of a limbo.
No, I got the number wrong. What was the number?
You mean mine or
Yeah, your CL. Sorry.
359594?
Yeah. I'll fix that.
And I did leave a comment on the wording to make it a little bit stronger, but to be honest, either softer or stronger, if we can merge anything at this point, I would be happy.
I have to say, at first glance at that paragraph, I'm like, oh, I don't. Yeah, it's not easy.
I will take a look at it probably sometime this week.
Cool.
That first
Nice.
sentence is solid.
That does seem important to document, though.
To give a bit of context, the main reason I want for us to document this is because I keep seeing people file bugs on my GoFunt fork saying, why are you rewriting my imports to like break our groups? And it's because their module path doesn't have a dot. So my tool goes like, that must be the standard library, because I don't want to, assume what is or what isn't the standard library based on a static list. So I have to keep, I guess, educating is maybe not the best word, but telling people about this, and then they tell me it's not documented, so you're just making it up, right? So
I mean, you could use GoList to figure out whether it's standard or not. That would be a little more robust.
it's also a little bit slower.
Yes.
And as a caller of GoFunt in GoPlease, we don't want someone else also running the Go command. We want to have our own control over the Go command.
Yeah, you could say that the format API, it's copied from go/format, right? So it's fairly low level. It shouldn't be doing things like exec.
Yeah, this does seem to be a point of confusion, though. I remember when I was confused about this feature as a new Go user. Okay, anything else from Command Go? I see some head shaking, so let's move on to MISC. Does anyone else have anything else at all that they want to bring up?
Very miscellaneous, but I will be at GoLab, and I believe Roger will be as well. So in case anybody else plans to go, I believe it's in November.
Cool.
Oh, and
Where
it's
is
in
that
Florence.
located?
Florence, Italy.
Florence.
Florence, okay.
And I believe it's run by Giovanni Raschi, the one that did the proof pass of the compiler. So pretty technical.
Cool. That sounds like it'll be fun. Anything else? Going once, going twice. All right. Then I guess the last item is just volunteering the next session. Dan, you've already volunteered yourself. Does anyone else want to usurp Dan? If not, then that works. That works for us. And yeah, I was thinking September as well, which would keep to our 2-month cadence. And I expect a lot of people will be traveling in August. So should we pick a Wednesday in September? Let's see.
How about the first one, the 6th?
That would work for me. I mean, Monday is a US holiday, so some people might be taking that week off. But I'm not,
13th?
If anyone here has plans, please let us know. But we could do, maybe the 13th is a better bet.
Yeah. Also, some people might still be on holiday in early September. So yeah, 13th
Okay.
sounds good.
Sounds good. Decided. All right. Thanks, everyone. Nice seeing you all.